Time to do some sketchy shit. Doo-dah, doo-dah. Hope I get away with it. Oh, da doo-dah day.
Hey there, folks. Sorry we're a couple of minutes late. I was running my mouth over on Stupid O'Clock, and we absolutely missed the 2-minute startup time for the end credits over there. Since Joe Dog wasn't there, I had to wait to the end of Stupid O'Clock's end credits before I could start us. No big deal. It's me and Rich tonight, and we are having fun and carrying on the level of insanity we can manage on our own, which is not inconsiderable, knowing the two of us. But we shall do our best to entertain all one of you for the next couple hours. And tomorrow on the rewatch, you too, Carl. Now we've doubled our audience here just while I was talking. Like that's going to happen again. Stale. Oh, yeah.
I think one of those on YouTube is me, actually.
Yeah. Well, the other one's not me because I can't get my own show on YouTube. It doesn't allow me the privilege of watching my own show while it's live. I might be able to watch it off of my Facebook page, but the comments would be even further delayed. I might have to try that sometime, and that way I won't have 4 echoes anytime I reply. Oh, it's Chris. It's Chris Walker, who, by rights should be in here, but he's probably on his way home from work. So, these things, they happen. But we did cover a wide range of topics there on Stupid O'Clock tonight.
Oh, yeah.
And once again, best of luck recovering from the other anti-plague booster, Joe Dog. It kicked my butt when I had it, and everybody I know had pretty much a similar reaction. Was, I'm going to go to bed and I'm not getting up for 3 days. And that turned out to be prophetic because they didn't wake up the second day. It took till the third day before they were willing to get up.
Yeah, it beat Misty's ass. It beat Crow's ass. Both shots and the booster for me were nothing. Um,
Depends on your biochemistry, I assume.
but apparently, the better your immune system, the worse it kicks your ass.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. You've got some mileage there, don't you? Uh, no insult intended. That was meant in respect. You've been through the ringer and can still walk. So
Well, my entire life, whenever I get sick at the drop of the hat. But my body produces the response to get rid of it really quick. So the flu and cold that it takes Misty and Crow and the rest of my family to get through a couple weeks in, I'm usually done in a couple of days. But I'm also beat to hell for those couple of days.
mhm. I remember back when I was in college. One year, something they called the Russian flu came through. It seemed like half the professors had it, and at least half the students too. And I managed to tough it out right up until just after final exams when we only had one or two classes left to go. One last class to go for everything on my schedule. I was too sick to get there that day. And I heard about it from other students that were in that class the next quarter when the teacher had actually name dropped me as being the only one that had never been late or been absent the entire quarter from a class until the day he decided to brag on my attendance. I believe I sought him out and apologized and said, "Look, I had the Russian flu. I could not get there. There's no way. I couldn't even drive, much less drive 30 miles to go to work and then another 12 to come back to town to go to class because I was working my way through college, so I had work up until about uh, 11 o'clock. Then I clocked out, went to I think I had a 4 class schedule in the middle of the day, and if I got off early enough, I could go back out to the little bitty factory where I worked and clock back in and work the rest of the day. I had the option of not going back in, or I could go back. It just depended on whether or not I wanted a larger paycheck that week or not. Um, Sometimes there was a lot of homework, so I went home and did the homework rather than go back to the little factory and work for another hour or two. But it was really nice that when I got hired, they understood I would have to be leaving to go to class. I was not going to be able to be a straight 8 hour employee every day. So that was actually very very lucky, and I was privileged to have that job, and it helped pay for my classes, helped pay for my books. Um, didn't have to worry about my commute. That was my dad's contribution to my college tuition. I paid for my college tuition out of my money for being hired out to do custom farm work, bush hogging, baling hay, mowing hay, that sort of thing. Dad had people pay me for the hours that I worked with the tractor, and then Dad bought um, a 250-gallon tank of gas down at the barn. There was 2 diesel fuel tanks and 2 gas tanks. They were all 250 gallons. One of the 250-gallon gas tanks was for me, and Dad said, if you empty that, you have to buy your own gas till the next school quarter starts. Never did have to buy my own gas before the end of the quarter. Only time was summer when I was not in class. So that was good. 2 years worth of basically free transportation. The
Yeah,
old
just
car was,
oil changes and maintenance.
I did all that myself, me and Dad.
Well, there's still parts involved. I mean,
Yeah, filters were cheap. Oil was cheap. Gas was 50 cents a gallon. Never gonna see those days again.
yeah,
But then I do remember when we were living in Clinton, Tennessee, price of gas went up a penny. It went up from 12 to 13 cents a gallon. Dad was outraged. He did not know how he was going to be able to afford to drive to work and feed the family at this exorbitant gas price. As the years passed, I never heard that one again. Because the price of gas never went down. It
Yeah.
always went up. Sometimes it was slow, sometimes it was fast, but it never dropped. That was back at a gas station that was so old the tanks were not buried in the ground. They were sitting up above ground. And when you got a tank of gas, somebody came out, cleaned your windshield wipers, checked the oil, checked the tire pressure. Checked the windshield wipers for 12 cents a gallon of high test.
back when full service really meant full service and not just
Yeah.
taking advantage of you.
And they gave S&H green stamps. So every 6 months to 9 months, all three kids are sitting there with a wet sponge and a green stamp booklet, sticking them things in there while Mom went through the catalog trying to figure out what we got enough stamps to afford. And you can be sure it wasn't a basketball. Not that not that any of us really were all that sports interested. We liked badminton quite a bit as kids. I tried to play basketball with the local kids, but I could not get the hang of the rules. Nobody knew that I needed glasses, so I could not play softball. I couldn't see the ball. I could not see it. I was hell on wheels at dodgeball, though. I could see a big orange thing coming at me.
At first, I was not very good at dodgeball, but when you become the obvious target, you learn to catch those things pretty dang quickly.
Uh-huh. I learned to get out of the way. Matter of fact, there were a lot of people that thought standing behind me was a good idea that found out, nope, wasn't a good idea. Because when the ball got close, I disappeared. I was little, I was light, and I was very acrobatic. I learned how to not be there when the projectile passed through my area. Oh, when I did get stuck on a softball team, they stuck me way out in the outfield. Usually someplace that they knew the batter was not likely to be able to hit the ball. So they just go out there near the fence And you guard that patch of ground. If it comes anywhere near you, you get. Otherwise, you let Joey get it. All right. Worked. I did get a home run once, but just because a couple of people fell down out of the outfield and couldn't throw the ball towards the infield. So I felt good, but I knew I hadn't earned that. It was just one of those Keystone Cops moments in elementary school softball.
Could not connect with a baseball and a bat until 8th grade, which was long past when I stopped playing Little League.
Mm-hmm.
In gym class one day, all of a sudden I connected. I'm like, this is the first time I've hit it that it hasn't been a toss and hit type of a thing, or it hasn't been sitting on a tee. And I'm like, holy cow, I hit it. And then after about 30 seconds, oh crap, that's right, I'm supposed to run now. Screw running, I'm going to walk mildly quickly. Even back then, I realized, running is not worth it. I'm not dying tired. I don't even run when chased. I'm not dying tired.
Nope. Although after I got my glasses, I discovered that twilight badminton with tennis shoes and wet grass, I was real good at. Because I had long before that developed a skill for roller skating by being taken to roller skating rinks and falling down a lot until I learned how to stand up and move forward. So you pong a little birdie towards me over the net, and I take half a dozen steps at Barry Allen speed and stop still and slide 5 yards and go bonk and get it back. That was fun. That was very much fun for me. I was able to continue that skill on up until after college. Um, uh, did develop a fascination with what nowadays would probably be called frisbee golf, but it was just 5 or 6 guys with a beer in one hand and a frisbee in the other, throwing stuff back and forth across a big field. And that was great. That was great till somebody with a dog came up and run off with our frisbee. Dude always brought it back, but dog was not gentle with the frisbee. It had not been bird dog trained to not clamp. So teeth marks made it a little bit less aerodynamic than it had been previously. One of the most fun things was nighttime parking lots with the glow-in-the-dark frisbee. You couldn't see who you were throwing it to, but they could see where it was going. And if nothing was in the way, like lawn furniture or something, you wind up with a glow-in-the-dark frisbee coming straight at you at 90 miles an hour. You learn to be able to reach up and catch that thing.
I grew up on a lake. Literally, it's a couple hundred feet down from the back door was the lake.
Mm-hmm.
So we grew up, playing frisbee in the water a lot.
Mm.
And that was always fun when you had the one person that would wait until they knew how long you could hold your breath underwater. And, you'd gone underwater for a little bit, you're swimming for a little bit, you come up, and all of a sudden you see this frisbee just coming right at your head. And you're to the point where you can't touch. So you're like, oh, grab. Whoop.
Oh Lord. Oh, I don't believe we even tried that with a swimming pool. I don't believe they allowed frisbees at the swimming pool. Now that I think about it, it was too dangerous.
Yeah, we did not have frisbees at the community pool, but the community pool was right outside one of the beaches. But there are a lot of kids that would play it on the beach. And again, I would just play it in the lake, at the foot of the hill. So um, lot of fun things with that lake and that hill. Um, my middle sister Brenda, she's 4 years older than I am. I don't remember exactly what she did to me that day, but she was typical middle child evil. But of course, I'm the baby, so I'm always innocent. I'm going to hell for that line. Anyways, so we're sledding, and again, she was just a right monster that day. I don't remember exactly what the hell she did because that was over 40 years ago. But she takes off down the hill on one of the little disc saucer sleds and hits the bottom of the hill just right. So she actually catches about 5 feet of air. And she didn't manage to stop where we normally stop. So she actually went out over onto the lake. And apparently the first 10 feet of lake or so had not froze yet completely. So it looked like ice, but it hit, and then she busted right through. And she just came bolting right up out of the lake, running up the hill, the little sorcerer sled, trailing after. And I was laughing so hard, it was not even funny. I am not ashamed to say that I laughed so hard I wet myself through my snowsuit. I was maybe 5 or 6 years old at this point in time. So it just tickled me to death.
Oh dear. The things we got up to when we were kids. I remember the folks, the kids across the street from me when it snowed there in East Tennessee. Sometimes you got a nice sizable accumulation, and they had a cow pasture behind their place, sloped uphill, not a big hill, was a long but gentle hill. And somehow or another, they had gotten hold of one of those 4 foot diameter Coca-Cola signs, sheet metal, drug that thing up the hill, and were using it for a sled coming down. That was fun. That was fun. Unless you were sitting too close to one edge or the other. Being as how it was an upside down frisbee shape, too much weight on one particular part, whoop! So I got thrown off a time or two, but then I realized that just everybody sit in the middle and hang on tight was the way to go.
That's one of those ones where if you're not careful, you are no longer sledding. The sled is now peopling.
Mm-hmm.
And damage will be done when the sled starts to people with a sled like that.
Mm-hmm. And one always must remember this hill was part of cattle pasture. So there were natural landmines placed strategically along the path.
Oh crap! Literally.
That did lead to some some people getting. Fortunately, I was lucky enough to never be in that situation, but I observed other people who were in that situation. It's like there was a joke. I've never seen this exactly happen, but I've seen it happen on this particular field during other activities. But uh, you ever be playing baseball and you slide into what you thought was second base?
Still number two.
Um, I've seen it happen, but we weren't playing baseball, and it was not baseball season. So, be being ice encrusted does not make it any better. I tell you. There's still a warm, gooey center that you have to be aware of. Fermentation is set in by this time. Oh Lord. And the cows still be in the field staring at us going, humans be crazy. If they had any sense, they'd be dangerous. Moo. Am I right? Moo.
Just moo and nod. Just moo and nod.
Oh, don't even know whose cows they were. I really don't. I mean, we had to climb a fence to get up the hill. So, it wasn't my neighbors. They haven't the faintest idea. And this was East Tennessee. So, in essence, there was a ridge on either side of the road. One of them pretty steep hill, other one kind of shallow. Went on up, went on up, went on up. Another ridge, and it's like that all the way through there. I swear. Probably wasn't, but it looks like glaciers carved out little wannabe fjords, and we put roads at the bottom instead of rivers. So, perverse redneck hillbillies. I mean, seriously. We don't mind if it twists like a snake. Kind of like it that way. I'm training for NASCAR. I always wondered why we had to change the oil in Daddy's 56 Bel Air as often as we did. Because it was a 56 Bel Air in 1959. And Daddy graduated in 1954. That straight six got a little bit of workout when nobody was looking. And it wasn't me. Oh. And then later on, Mama claimed Daddy didn't drive fast enough. I found out just how dangerous my mother's driving was when I began driving myself and was being taught by both of them. Daddy taught me the importance of the brake and the clutch and the gas pedal. Mama taught me gas pedal's supposed to stay on the floor. I swear, Mama probably should have outdriven revenuers. Seriously. It's like, well, even nowadays, she expects railroad trains to get out of her way. Just 80-something years old. She expects the train to yield. Ain't gonna happen, Mama. Don't do that. Woo! We were coming back from I believe we had gone back to Michigan to visit friends of Mom and Dad's up there. Coming back to the Oak Ridge area, and we were on one of the recently paved roads. And for some reason, we had both cars. Dad's Bel Air, Mama's 60 Impala. Well, there was a concrete island in the middle of the road where 3 roads split off. Dad went around the island, stopped at the stop sign, went on. Somehow or another, without tearing the undercarriage off of the car, Mama went over the concrete island straight through. What stop sign? Needless to say, once we moved to Georgia and I was of driving age, I was very pleased to be allowed to drive while everybody else in the car slept. We might not have been getting there fast. I got us there alive.
You got there. That's all that mattered. You got there.
And basically, it seemed like back then, the more people in the car were asleep, the more aware and awake I was. So even back then, I was a night owl. But in the middle of the night, put it on up to whatever the posted speed limit was on those roads. And they were not, most of them were not 4-lane interstates yet. Some were, but not all of them. Might as well just be back. Well, they would be back roads now. They were major highways back then, but now they're back roads. Still, it was fun. Some of that shows up in some of the stories. Of course, there has been a thing or two that I have shamelessly stolen from music videos that shall remain nameless, but it'll work out in the long run. All the serial numbers have been filed off and it's been given a new paint job. So. Oh. I'm kind of sad that thing ran out of, or started running out of ink. But thankfully, about 3 pages before the ink ran out, the printer said, ain't doing this, and shut it off. Had plenty of paper. Just started skipping lines. So I know exactly which page to start back and finish it up on. And it seemed to be saved in the file format. I didn't have to change anything in my printer. It's not exactly... Yeah, well... Yeah, it is. I wanted it offset so I could fasten the inside edges together, and it's double-sided printing, front and back. Got to find the little thing I rigged together for a cover illustration. I don't remember which thumb drive that's on, but I'm betting it's the one in my change purse, in my pants pocket, in my closet, with my sleeping wife in the next room. So that'll have to wait till tomorrow, just like changing the ink cartridge, because I'm not getting up there and taking 2 wireless routers off the top of the printer so I can put another cartridge of ink in it. Hey, I got my priorities straight.
Let's see. I've got a little bucket of pencils and pens, my glasses case, one of my slings, a candle, the wife's car keys, my horseshoe nail cross, and a crap ton of index cards for hashing out stories and other types of creative work that I do and stuff like that, sitting on top of mine. And I need to change my ink out. I just got the low ink level just the other day, and I'm like, okay. But again, the firm's footing the bill for it, so I don't care. All I got to do is put in another purchase order for it. It's here next day, and I've got the ink to replace it right now. It's just as soon as I replace it, I always order the new so that I've always got the ink on hand.
I know of 3 different places I can shop for the ink for mine. One of them's, well, both of them are 7 miles away, just in different directions. Every time that I feel like, hey, might be getting close to time to change cartridges, I'll go ahead and buy new, put it in a cabinet underneath the printer so that I've got it right then. A lot of times we have run out when Lindsay's going, I need this color photograph printed out on the glossy paper, and we'll get halfway done with, say, the 3rd photograph she wants printed, and suddenly there is no more red ink and the color does not look right. Got to stop and refill the cartridge. I got to go down the hall. I will be right back. I'm not even going to turn the camera off, just the microphone.
Very good. Yeah, it's in that box right there. Looking over to see where my ink was. All right. One of the first times I'm having to do this all by myself. So just stare at the camera and just smile and wave. All right, enough of that. Yeah, hard hitting episode right here. If me just staring at the camera for a couple minutes, folks. Sorry about this.
Sorry about that, Rich. It's just
Oh,
one
no
of
problem.
those. Hey, you can't go drinking beer all day and keep it to yourself, as P.D. Bach once observed in the opera in One Unnatural Act. Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice, or Hansel and Gretel and Ted and Alice was the actual title.
Well, you can, but you chafe after a while.
And you tend to walk real fast. Or wish you had.
Which is where the chafage comes in.
Yeah. But, my many fans will enjoy this casual, relaxed episode, cometh the dawn. Was that my ego talking out loud? Should have given him another damn Hershey bar and told him to shut up. Oh heavens! Yeah. There are actually about 23 subscribers to Last Man Standing, even though we only have usually one or two during the show. Other people will come back later and pick it up, watch it, and that's fine. Generally, the last thing I do after a show ends is I'll go to my YouTube channel and I will put it on the playlist so that some masochist somewhere can click start at the beginning and watch them all in order from the last 2 years. And you would be surprised, but people actually do that. I do that with the canal boat video. The families that do those. When I find a family that does their own little boat vlogs, and they're that interesting and that entertaining on their own, I'll go back to the very beginning and start watching, and I'll watch every single one they did. It might take me a month. I might not watch more than 4 or 5 a day and then go on to something else and then come back the next day and watch another 4 or 5. They're about half an hour long. It's not like the 6-hour marathons that we've been known to pull. But
I'll do the same with Karen videos and stuff like that. It's I enjoy watching people get comeuppance. I honestly, it's probably one of the reasons why I became a writer in the first place, a storyteller in the first place, is seeing people in meat space that are behaving badly, that aren't getting what they deserve, and being like, you know what? Here's a passive aggressive way to say "F you." You're getting it. It might not be in the real world, but it's happening in here.
Yep. Friend of mine has a T-shirt that says, I might look like I'm ignoring you, but in my mind I have killed you 5 times.
All right, so one of my best friends, my best friend from my college days, great guy, Vince Ortega, he and I worked on a bunch of story stuff together when we were back in college and stuff like that, my first time through college. And one of the series that we were planning on developing was based around my persona and his persona as intergalactic bounty hunters. He was more mafioso appearing. I was your redneck more appearing type. But the running gag through the story was that one of the characters, based off of someone he knew in real life, would show up, do something to piss off his character, and then his character would just rattle off another number. And the number was always increasing throughout the series. And then finally someone asks him, what are you counting? What's that number represent? Oh, it's trying to think of 101 different ways to, kill your little brother who keeps, trying to kill me. Well, what number are you on? 5,392. So I used that as a way to sit there and keep my calm in situations. Just try to figure out just the most off the wall ways to off people, and thinking of ways like gun, knife doesn't count. Too easy to really do.
Mm-hmm.
Using a water buffalo and a trebuchet, on the other hand, I'm not going to get my hands on a water buffalo. probably not going to get my hands on a trebuchet. So it's safe for me to go along these routes that I can't actually perform, so that somebody can't say, well, it was premeditated. Really?
Have you read my work? Are you aware of how many premeditated ways there actually are? Detailed. Do you know how hard it is to find a trebuchet that will actually throw a water buffalo an appreciable distance?
I know a lot of engineers. No, it's not really that hard. Um,
It is when you're writing steampunk and you got to build a fire and boil water for the darn thing to work.
okay, if you're going with the steam powered trebuchet, okay, maybe.
Well, I don't have rubber bands that big. So,
Yeah, that is one of the interesting things of being a writer, and how many watch lists are we on just because of just the weird shit that comes through our head at just a random time that we cannot help but Google. Or
research.
Back in the day, going to web crawler or Ask Jeeves.
The things that I have had to research when I'm writing, for this one, it's been pretty. There's one where I had to learn out. I had to actually look up how to say things in foreign languages that were part of the vocabulary of a Cold War era spy. You will understand when you get to that chapter.
So Chrome allows you to do groups. So I've got a bunch of tab groups. I've got one for my Google tools, one for YouTube, one for World of Warcraft stuff, one for my Humble Bundle stuff that I just keep stuff in, and then I just keep going back to every so often. The Humble Bundle ones are usually ones that I can't afford to buy the bundle right now, but I want to keep the page that has the bundle on it so that I can go look for the regular books separately later on when I actually have a few bucks to go ahead and spend on them. But in my Google tools, so I've got Google Calendar, I've got Google Keep. Google Keep I actually use to go ahead and keep all sorts of notes. I keep my medical stuff on there so that, you know, when the doctor goes, okay, is this your right medication list? I can go, yep, okay, no, we changed the dosage on that, blah, 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 you know, stuff like that. But I share out a couple of those things, like the usual restaurant orders for me, Misty, and Crow are in those, so that if Misty's on the way home and she wants to stop at a drive-thru, she doesn't have to call us, ask what we want, she knows. But anyways, sorry. I've got so many story things in the Keep, it's not even funny. I really need to go back there one of these days and start actually following through on some of those. I've got my Google Drive. I've got a sheet I use for Pathfinder Society group that I'm part of. And then I have Google Translate as part of that. And how many times I'm going in there because I'm like, okay. One of the shorts I started working on a couple months ago that I just had to rough out to have something ready is I want to call it Enter Sandman, and basically kind of the trope of someone inherits the mantle of supernatural being, blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to find out the French word for sleep, because I wanted to use that as the person's last name, because they're inheriting the mantle of the Sandman. But yeah, just the weird ass things I go out there and I plug into Translate all the time. Mm-hmm. So that's why I started laughing when you're mentioning going out there and doing all sorts of, yeah, I look stuff up in Gaelic, French. I think one time I even went as far as to try to find something in Esperanto, just because it's one of those weird languages that nobody knows.
which actually defies the reason it was made. It was supposed to be this brand new universal language. Thank you, Harry Harrison. I wouldn't have known about it if I hadn't read the Stainless Steel Rat books, but there you go. Um,
All right, Chris, have a good one, brother.
oh, good night, Chris. Let's see. Yep. Early for you.
Early, late, depends on when you go to bed.
Yeah, really. And oh, I sort of say we're almost done for that. No, we still got another hour. Of course, we don't have to run 2 hours, but we can run as long as we want.
Hey, I just took a couple more Tylenol, a couple more ibuprofen, and my pain med for the evening. So I'm good for the moment, at least.
As I was saying earlier tonight, I have been taking fewer and fewer of the Aleve and the ibuprofen. I wait till it actually starts hurting. Take something within half an hour. I can feel it dulling the pain. Instead of 2 ibuprofen every 4 hours, alternated with 2 Aleve. 2 hours later, every 4 hours. Now it's down to maybe 6 ibuprofen a day and 4 Aleve a day. And I'm still awake the same number of times, the same
Yeah,
number of hours.
the extra kick me in the head ones that the surgeon gave me for my shoulder for the surgery, I haven't had to touch in a little under a week. My normal stuff for my normal neck and spine issues and knee issues and stuff like that is what I just took just now. They haven't refilled my stuff for my nerve pain in going on 3 weeks now. So my sleep schedule is all messed up. I'll lay down for a couple of hours, and then it just feels like someone has a blowtorch running it over my legs, and I can't sleep anymore, so I've got to get up. So sit up here for a little bit, do a little bit more work on stuff. One of the reasons why I've been sketching more stuff like that is because I can't sleep. I've got to do something, and that's also one of the reasons why I started working more on the anthology stuff again. And then I'll get to the point where my legs aren't hurting anymore, and I'm just so tired that I'm about ready to face plant into my keyboard and go to bed. And again, a couple hours later, all of a sudden I'm back up again. It's back out here, and it's just I'm really lucky I work the kind of gig that I do, so that I can actually clock in an hour early, do stuff, take an hour nap, come back, clock back in after the hour nap, work for a little bit longer, clock out for lunch, and stuff like that, so that I can make it through the day. If I was still in the office, 5 days a week, this would not work.
No, I know the feeling quite well. I really do. I wish that more of my job was on the computer than is, and less of my job was actually standing there measuring the test samples that I have to take from the stuff we make. But that's not possible. You have to be there. You have to get a sample from a certain production run, let it sit, let it age, open it up on schedule, certain number of days later, cut it into little pieces, measure this, that, and the other thing, bake some in an oven, broil some in another oven, measure everything, type it up. The typing it up part, that's what I could do at home. But the actual measurement, the actual lab work, can't do that at the house. So keep going in. But it is now December, and I have 13 more months to go.
12 months, 29 days?
Nope. It's I have to work until I think it's January 2nd
Okay.
of 2024. Then go in and take my 5 weeks vacation. Come back in on February 7th and have a see y'all later dinner and pose for a couple of photographs, and partway through the day go home. Never have to get up with an alarm clock for anything but a reason I decide is appropriate ever again. I will have spent 46 years in that drafty old barn.
Yeah, April 2nd was 10 years as an actual real boy employee of the firm. November 22nd, just, a couple weeks ago, was 20 years from the first call I took for the firm. So I spent 10 years as part of 2 different outsource companies as vendors for the firm on the help desk, and then got hired in as a trainer. And then about a year or two after that, they took all the first level people that were still as the vendor contract and bought out most of those contracts and hired them in. So all of our help desk is, once again, actual real employees of the firm. Although we do have a outsource help desk for after hours and when the call volume is too much, which is actually the job I started supporting the firm at, is doing that kind of a deal.
Yep. Now, I have been told that they are going to do away with my job when I leave. Doesn't mean that it's not going to keep on being done. They're just going to spread it out over 4 people that already have enough to do.
They're getting rid of the position, not the duties.
That's right. So I would suggest to all of my friends in quality control at the factory that when they do this, you go, we're going to have to do what Dan did. We need an upgrade. That's 2 pay grades higher worth of computer work that we don't know how to do. You're going to have to train us. And nobody is going to actually accept the responsibility of sitting down and archiving all the code that I wrote for all the different Excel sheets. So that if anything goes wrong, I'm going to get a phone call that somebody's going to say, how does this thing work? Somebody got a hold of the master copy and corrupted the file. And I'll go, all right, I have made provisions for this very thing.
Every report I run for the firm, I take all my raw data, I turn it into a master, I copy that master, then I hide that master in the sheet, and then I do all my calculations from that second master.
Mm-hmm. What I do is I have made all of my templates read only. And I have 4 backups, 2 of which are on the company network. Other 2 are portable drives. I will be giving a copy of one portable drive to my ex-supervisor who has been promoted. I would give it to my supervisor, but I get the feeling he's going to be doing something else by that time. I was going to give a copy to whoever it looked like was going to get my job, back when it looked like my job was still going to exist after I leave. But I'll have a public backup of everything I've done with everything. Every different formula I had to work out how to make do what it does is not only in the sheets, but in a text file. So that if somebody knows what they're looking for, they can find that once I finally figured out how to make it work, saved in 2 different places on the company network. One of them is going to be obvious. The other one's going to be even more obvious because the directory name is going to be my name. And all of it is going to be password protected. They will be able to copy it, and I have since learned, since I got started with Excel, I have since learned how to make a copy of something that I can save as a totally unprotected file that negates whatever password anybody's got put on it. Doesn't give me access to their copy that they protected with their password. It's just everything becomes a database. No calculations in it whatsoever, just what works that day. Whenever I just said, echo this, echo this, echo this. Doesn't matter how big the file is, doesn't matter how small the file is. If you use it as a database, it's the copy you have made does not have a password protection on it because there are no calculations in the background. It's just the results of those calculations. And once you save it, it no longer calls back to the original. It's just the results at the time you made the copy. So if they update their official stuff, it don't change what you've done.
So we at the firm have what's called a document management system because as a law firm, documents is what we do for a living. We literally have millions of documents on the system. Now, there's all sorts of different things that can be done as far as safeguarding those. So we actually have things that happen, 2 layers of security that get put on every document that gets put into the document management system. So one gets put on by the client matter number. So A unique identifier is generated for every single document put into the system because we need to find ways to track every single thing that we're doing, because we have to figure out how much to bill the clients and all that, and have to keep track of their information so that they can actually win their cases. Should we be doing some type of litigation, or have everything spelled out well enough in a contract that it's beneficial for everybody. But so there's a number that is specific for every single client, and then every single client will have a list of matters, and every matter will have its own matter number. So we've got a 11-digit number that is what the client matter number is. 6 digits for the client, 5 digits for the matter, separated by a period or a dash, depending on what system you're looking at it through. So one level of security is added by that, because certain things are extremely confidential. Like if we are doing something for an insurance company that involves what's called PII or PHI. PII is personally identifiable information, social security numbers, addresses, things of that nature. Or PHI, personal health information. We have to keep that completely locked down, because that's people's security. Oh, hey, the bot's back.
Yeah.
But so one layer is put on because of that, because we have to have confidentiality for that, because not everybody needs to see every single thing that's going on, no matter what. And then we've got another layer of security that the people get to go ahead and decide, is this a private document so that only me and whoever I get to choose gets to see it, a read-only document, which obviously, I can edit it, but, whoever else is opening it, unless I've granted them those rights, won't be able to edit. And then we've got two different read-write options. We have read-write and we have full access. Full access allows those people to actually completely delete the document as well, where read-write will only let them do edits to the document. They can't just completely nuke the document from orbit.
Mm-hmm. See, I could never get through anything like that. All I can get to is the regular password protected Excel spreadsheets. I can, if I know the path and the file name, I can put the formula in the cell, echo what is in this cell at this particular location in the network, then get the entire spreadsheet just as an echo. Then copy the entire thing and put it in as just the data on a clean sheet, and then save it under a new file name. So I have basically what is a database of whatever the results were that day, that hour, that minute, before anybody changed it, as if it were an offline readable document.
Yeah.
Unable to be updated. And then from there, I can manipulate it however I choose to just use it as a database.
With ours, for the read-only documents, if you open up that read-only document, make any changes, and try to save it, it forces that person to save it as a brand new document number. Mm-hmm. And then from that point on, they can do whatever they want from it, because it's no longer that old document. It's now the new document.
Same principle.
Exactly. Same principle.
Yep. Now I'm not changing any of the original ones. I cannot go in certain rare cases. I do have the original password that it was saved under, even though that person that saved it with that password has no longer been employed by the company for many years, because when they left a document for whoever took their job, which has a password in it. As far as I know, no one has actually look that information up, except for that person's successor and me, because no one ever knew that it was there. I went through the entire company network that I am allowed access to, the local area network, not the worldwide, because I don't have access to the worldwide, just the local. Very carefully, do not change anything. Do not want any anything that I do to damage any of those files, the original files, because my paycheck depends on those things working flawlessly. So if I screw it up, I'm not the only one who is suffering.
Yeah, when I was still on help desk, um, we had a very powerful partner in the firm who was on vacation on a beach down in Florida who had formatted an email on his BlackBerry. And then it got saved up to the server for his secretary to go ahead and email out. Well, at that point in time, there was a lot of issues where we would have to sometimes take emails that were saved as an HTML, redo it as rich text format, and then we could switch it back to HTML, and then it would send no problem. Sorry, not rich text format. My apologies. Put it back into Unicode, TXT format, not RTF, because RTF would actually keep the formatting. But it was something in there that the HTML in the email just nuked something and it wouldn't send, so we'd have to put it back to Unicode, and then we'd be able to go ahead, put it back up to HTML and send it out. Well, it blew out all the formatting for the email when I was doing that for the secretary. The attorney wanted me fired. I luck out. My help desk manager is actually the best manager I've ever worked with ever in my life. I don't care who knows that. He's always had my back. He's my manager now is a great manager, but Matt has done more for me than any 5 managers I've worked for in my life combined. Anyways, so yeah, he went to bat. He's like, no, we're not firing. He's our best technician. No, it ain't happening. But we ended up having to go through a completely different, create a completely different process after that, just to be sure. And I'm like, okay, you're on vacation in Florida on the beach. Why the hell are you formatting an email on your BlackBerry? Just tell your secretary to do it. That's what they're there for. You're having the secretary send the damn email anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Luckily for the company, I'm a very ethical person. I do not want to screw anything up for anybody. I did not disobey any rules. I found essentially a workaround for mere password protected documents that weren't highly secure documents to start with. If they had been highly secure, I would not even been able to get to the exact path and file name.
You would not believe the number of times I've had the question when I was in the help desk, and a couple times after I became a trainer even still. Hey, can you get rid of the password on this document for me? My answer is can versus will. Is this your document you just can't remember the password on? Or is this opposing counsel's document that you don't want to ask for the password for because you don't want them to know you're getting into the document? In which case, if they find out you did get into the document, breaking that password is still hacking and therefore is still a federal offense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, are you paying my legal struggles if I crack this for you and they come after me? No? Then that's your answer right there.
Yep.
Can versus will.
Yep. The point of me doing all this is because there were things that the company needed done, but they weren't yet aware they needed it done. I found a way to do it that did not violate any of the rules that had been presented to me and did not attempt to bypass any company security measure. And greatly benefited the company thereby.
Yeah.
Now, I wouldn't attempt to try and break anybody's passwords for anything. It just so happens it was a public document sent out basically as a to whom it may concern that had this one guy who was leaving the company going, hey, if y'all ever need to get into any of my stuff, this is the way you do it. This is what it is. Recommend you put your own on it. Nobody ever did. Kept his as if it were holy writ.
I was thinking gospel.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going, this guy's been gone for over a decade. They're still using the same password. Either that password has become policy or nobody realized the guy that left was the one that put the password on there. So as long as they're using that, and I have been asked to go to the original document because somehow or another during the year, people using an updated version of the original form basically take the document, save as for this year. Last year goes in an archive. This year, delete all the raw data, leave the calculations, brand new spreadsheet for a brand new year. They get down to the end of it in about October. The formulas have not been copied over to any new lines. Nobody expected the spreadsheet to go on that long. It's a simple matter. Go to the last available line, put in the password, copy everything all the way across, including the hidden columns, because there are always hidden columns. There are, because nobody wants to see where these calculations are. That's not part of the report process. It's part of the calculations that makes the report process work. But you unhide all the columns and you go in there and you copy it, the whole line, and you start with the whatever number that in the A column is the next line, and you put in another 1,000 lines, copy formulas, and it puts all the formulas in the correct cells. So you go back and you hide all the cells that are supposed to be hidden. then you go
Make it all
in.
pretty again.
Yeah, you go in and you put protect, put in the password again. There you go. You've got the rest of the year taken care of. It's in there. Sometimes they had to do that twice in the same year. Uh, uh, there have been times when, for each different thing that we have to run, there's a whole nother line of test results. Sometimes we run lots and lots of stuff in one day. So each one of those changes has got to be its own separate line, and you run out of lines. Get down to blank lines, and you got to go in, copy the code, paste it in, make it pretty again, save it with the password. You're done. You're ready for the next time you have to update it. I have been asked to do this, and I go, wait, nope, nope, nope. Ordinarily, I would. I know how. I could save the person that's going to have to come in here and officially do it the effort of walking half a mile, getting on this computer, doing exactly what I know how to do, and then walking back to their desk. No, they can't justify my job. They're going to do away with my job when I leave. I'm sorry, but they made the rules. They have the responsibility now. I can do it. I won't. Y'all made the bid. Now lay in it.
They need to see what it's going to look like without you fulfilling that role.
Exactly right.
Because they might be able to make that course correction now instead of 3 months after you're gone. They're like, oh, fuck, we really need it, Dan.
He said he would consult $1,000 an hour, 6 hours minimum. Damn it! I know, Dan. He's not kidding. Uh, sure, they might only need me twice in a decade, but what am I supposed to do? Sit by the phone? I got a life.
My first job in IT, I actually worked with my best friend. My best friend was the network administrator. I was the help desk technician for a plumbing and heating supply company. And we found out that there was going to be a mass reduction in force. And they went ahead and called us in very first thing the day that mass reduction in force was going to happen. Well, Jeff and I thought it was to go ahead and go through what's going to happen. You know, the lockout process for removing these people from their access to everything and all that. No, we were the very first two people let go. So just before, about 3 months before we were let go, they hired in a junior network admin that ended up being the one to take Jeff's position. And the thing is, Jeff was really good about showing the guy how to do everything. But for the next 6 months or so, every so often, Jeff would get a call. I was like, how did you do this again? Because everything made sense to Jeff and I, because, well, we're broken that way. But it's, you know, the new guy, he got along with us well. You know, we didn't think anything ill or anything like that. We weren't mad.
Corporate decision. It's not his fault.
We just had to laugh because it's like, you know, you fire the two people who actually know how the network runs. You know, the director of the company, for the IT director of the company, didn't know how things went. Very, very nice man, good guy, not technical at all.
Administrator.
Yes.
Not a hands-on tech.
So Eugene, the director, very dark-skinned black man. Dark-skinned black man.
I know a few.
Came out of his office white as a sheet. Grabbed Jeff. Jeff had to run into the office to help him. Jeff came out a few minutes later, trying not to laugh. He just looked at me and did this. That was our signal for we had to go talk in the server room. Because one entrance to the server room was behind my desk, the other was behind his desk. So we'd go in there so no one could overhear us, especially if we started laughing. And that's exactly what he started doing. Eugene was trying to book a flight. And he's like, when you get home tonight, go to UnitedAirline.com. Not United Airlines, UnitedAirline.com.
Okay. I believe I have an inkling as to where this is going.
Well, back in the day, just like our fun bot that we just blocked. Okay, you. It's back in the day. One of the best ways that they got that kind of traffic was to purchase domain names that were 1 or 2 characters off common misspellings of popular websites. So Jeff goes in because Eugene was trying to book a flight to another one of our offices. Jeff goes in and he immediately just does everything he can not to burst out laughing because it was just porn all over his screen because of UnitedAirline.com. Of course, Jeff didn't tell me why to go to UnitedAirline.com. He just told me to go to UnitedAirline.com. So my eldest sister was over with her kids that day, and they were in my room with me as I'm messing around on the computer, and I'm like, okay, Jeff told me to go here. Yeah. I'm like, you son of a bitch. You could have told me what it was so I can make sure that there were no kids behind me when I went to the site.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was funny as hell.
Definitely a repurposing of the phrase "Fly United." Mm-hmm. Thought so.
But it's a porn site. I had purchased UnitedAirline.com and just like back in the day, WhiteHouse.com.
Oh yeah.
If you wanted to go to the government website, in fact, I had some teacher friends that had heart attacks because, they're trying to go to show the kids about the government and the internet and stuff like that and how cool things are nowadays, and forget that it's .gov, not .com. Before the White House decided to go ahead and buy
every variation.
.org, .edu, .info, .ru,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder. That would be funny if the White House actually does own whitehouse.ru. Because .ru is the Russian domain.
Yes, and the CEO is British. Yes.
.co.uk.
Mm-hmm. I am willing to bet that someone has learned that rather painful lesson the hard way and made provision to have that domain become available no matter what for our U.S. government purchase. Yep.
Yeah.
Guido will be around to talk with you shortly.
But yeah, so that was one of my most fun experiences on the help desk at that company. Was again just Eugene coming out just white as a ghost. It's like, oh hell, what is wrong? I mean, he was paler than I am, and like I said, normally his skin tone is maybe a couple shades lighter than my shirt right here, and it's just like, oh, what the hell? That it's not good when someone my complexion goes that pale. It's
Yep.
It's how how high of APF that guy had to be dealing with to go that pale. It's like, oh, okay. So let's go ahead and start clearing things out. We know there might be an emergency on deck here shortly. What's going on?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's why not only in my own QA tech directory and the quality directory have I got everything I've done, and in the documents on my computer, all the research that I did to be able to figure out how to do everything that I've done. Everything's documented in there. But there'll be two thumb drives. One will go to my best supervisor ever, who has been promoted out of that position into a higher position, and go, look, dude, this is the doomsday key. If the shit hits the fan,
No, let's face it.
here's
It's not
everything that
if,
I know.
it's when.
Yeah. And then the other one is going to be given to the person most likely to have to be faced with reproducing something I did. Because somebody in corporate is going to go, all of those documents Dan designed, where are they? We need to redo the ISO certification on his documents. Yeah, I've got like 20 or 30 ISO certified documents because the guy that left the password for me thought, kid knows what he's doing. Let's get these certified. They're good. Hey,
We're in our ISO push for security awareness compliance now.
mm-hmm.
So every day of the week, I run a report. Every Monday through Friday, I run a report. I don't do it on Saturdays and Sundays because they don't pay me to log in over the weekend. Although if they wanted to pay me to log in over the weekend to spend 2 hours over the weekend to do reports, I would. I like doing reports. Reporting is easy. Anyways, but Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I send out a Monday report, Wednesday report, Friday report to all the IT managers so that they can see how many folks we have that are actually taking the security awareness compliance training, so that we can keep our 27001 certification for security. So, although this year I have to say that we have had our best first day ever. We actually got to 15% of the firm, 15% of the firm actually getting it done on the first day. Last year, I think we were maybe between 10 and 12% first day. But still, it's better than a sharp stick in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I would like it if everyone got it done right off the bat. But I don't remember the exact number that we have to get to. I want to say it's like 80 or 85% or something like that.
Mm-hmm. When I do the final file format, I will be saving them with the ISO number and the last year it was certified. Well, no, not the last year it was certified, but next year it'll be dated 2023's version of that ISO number, and that's just going to have it be so that somebody that doesn't understand plain text file names with a date in front of them and the last modified on date in the directory can actually find the stuff But still, I mean, seriously, I've put so far 6, 7 years worth of effort into learning how to do this stuff and making it pretty and making it where the company can make use of it and have the all the data there, so that reports can be generated by whoever needs the data. At one time, there was one sheet that I did where I had to report to not only my supervisor but 5 different engineers, and they all wanted different data highlighted. So they didn't want everything. They wanted this, not that, this, not that, this, and each one of them had different choices. So I just made up a report sheet that only pulled up what each one of them wanted. They got it. If not on a daily basis, then every time that particular test was run, no problem. Had 42 tabs in 5 databases in each spreadsheet form. And my favorite supervisor said, "We can't afford that. Just pare it down to the 6 or 7 most asked for." So I did. And then they asked for, "Can we get this where we can still use your sheet but have more offline databases in the main file so that we can do it on a computer that's not connected to the network?" And I'm going, it's going to take all day. Yeah, seriously, it's going to take all day. So, yep. Echo, copy, save formulas as data. Boom. Got it. If it ever needs to be updated, it ain't going to be easy, but you can use it offline now.
Now, if they're smart, they would find someone that knows Python. And it can be fairly easily done in Python, where they can actually go in and write a quick snippet of code to go ahead and basically do the same kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know it off the top of my head because I am very ADHD. Okay, officially, I don't know. I still need to go take my little questionnaire back to my doctor and have him look at it. Although I'm going to assume I probably do qualify because of my behaviors, but also because the form that they gave me was a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox, and it was just so badly faded and stuff like that that it drove me nuts, and I had to recreate it for
Yep.
them. So when
I
I
have
hand it
done
in,
that.
it's going to be a pretty one, and I'm also going to hand them a blank of the pretty one and going, if you want it in electronic format, let me know and I'll email it to you guys. Um, but I'm thinking I probably am. Um, but uh,
Yeah, I actually did that with something for raw materials receiving. The company was actually using like two 12th generation Xeroxes of two different forms laid out in a copy machine, one on top of the other with bits and pieces folded back out of the way, Xeroxed again to make one form. And I took 4 hours and recreated it as a brand new Excel sheet with drop down boxes for all of the different variations of things you needed for all the different boxes that had to do. And everybody just loved it. I even had one that used different script fonts and blue ink, a blue font that looked like somebody had gone in and handwritten bits and pieces, but it would come out on the printer. That was a special edition, but the collector's edition, basically. But and they absolutely loved it. They started using it. The people that were in charge of actually collating the raw material receipts just absolutely adored it. Some guy with a little bit less seniority than me decided he could do 3 people's jobs in raw materials receiving, upset one of the other people whose job he wanted to take so badly that the man took an early retirement, was not going to share an office with this idiot, and then promptly retired because he wanted to be management. And after doing all this work and taking 2 other people's jobs away from him, they didn't make him a member of management. So he puffed up and quit. And somebody else bid on the job and got it. And now they're stuck doing 3 people's jobs. And they took my little universal form that could be made to become whatever raw material needed to be received, standardized form, and gave it to somebody in corporate in Pennsylvania as their responsibility. A word of thanks might have been well received on my part, but hey, I understand how corporate plays the game.
Yeah.
So, you want to do it? That's fine. Sorry. I made it easy for you. Best of luck. All they got to do is go in there, unprotect it. I didn't even save it with a password. Just unprotect it. Add in more stuff in the drop-down box. Even more universal. Whatever it takes. Hey. I got paid to do it. Originally. Somebody else is doing it now. That's all right. They tried to add me to a mailing list of some new raw material receipt system that they had come up with. And I emailed the owner of the mailing list and said, I'm sorry, that is no longer part of my job. It has been given to somebody else. Please take me off your mailing list. Thank you. In case of emergency, $1,000 an hour, 6-hour minimum. Yep, Rockford Files, but I'm greedy. I realize they won't. With that as a price tag, they are not going to call me unless it's serious. And with the two different online directories of everything backed up and the two thumb drives, they shouldn't have to call me if they got anybody that is in the least bit computer savvy.
Yeah, I've got a similar policy for folks that want me to come and do a house call on their machines. My billing schedule is fairly okay. It's not too insane, but it's a 2-hour minimum if I leave my parking spot.
Mm-hmm.
If my car is moved at all, even if you call me and I've just backed out of my parking spot to park back or to pull back in, 2-hour minimum. If you call me before I manage to put in reverse and back my car up, I'll cancel for free. But if I had to get my ass out and start driving my way to you, I'm getting compensation for something.
Mm-hmm. I have made it clear, and I don't know if I'm being believed, but I have made it clear. I've done all this on the company dime. I've learned all this on the company dime. Company has made use of it. Company has actually made it official that the results of my work are good enough to for the company to pay for ISO certification. If you need me to come back in and fix something, you're going to have to pay for it. If you're bound and determined to do away with my job, and you're going to screw somebody else that doesn't have the benefit of being somebody that likes to learn new computer stuff as much as me, you want a phone jockey to do what I do, and it don't work. This is punitive damages, basically.
Yeah.
This is not revenge. This is, I told you so, and you'll never do this again because it's going to cost you. And the only way to teach you anything is to hit you in
Hit
the
you in the
wallet.
wallet.
It's like getting a divorce. This is alimony, son. Or palimony. Um, Look, I figure after 46 years of my life, if you're not willing to listen to common sense in half a century, wake up call. You know, I'm not the brightest. I'm not the brightest and the best, but I'm Johnny on the spot. I did the work. You can have all the credit you want.
My partner that just retired in April, she was always really big about making sure credit was, anything that she did, she wanted to make sure she was credited for. And I completely understand her point of view, especially being a woman in IT. It's a lot of times, women in a field like IT that was traditionally a boys' club. were overlooked and were not given their due and stuff like that. So I really understand it. But, there's times that, she'd be like, well, aren't you the one that did the work on that? Yeah. But they're saying, I don't care. I'm not going to get any compensatory benefits to them knowing I did it. I know I did it. I was paid to do it. I don't care.
Yep.
When she left, she actually took a lot of the documents she made and removed them from the servers. Because it's all the stuff that was outdated anyway. But I'm not doing that. It's just like
I wouldn't be comfortable doing that. I mean, I got a paycheck while I was learning how to do this stuff. I got a paycheck while I was doing this stuff. It's in my contract that if I do something that is company business, it belongs to the company. Fine. Hey, I got paid for doing it. I got paid for developing it. I got paid for learning how to do it. I have no problem with that. If somebody else wants to go in there and put document owner, I can't say anything about that because it's usually a generic term for whoever it is that fills my immediate supervisor spot. I have gone in and I have added the footnotes, the official company format footnotes, document owner, quality manager, electronic document, master copy on the company network.
XYZ share of
yeah.
C
and
drive.
then down on the in the bottom corner is document design. My name. Leave that. We're fine. I want people looking at this 50 years from now going, this is pretty cool. Dude did that. Is he still alive? How'd we do that? No. I don't know. It's like my byline on a story. I'm getting paid for it. Put my name on it. If I did it, fine. If I did it with partners, put everybody's name on it. It's not like I'm going to get extra royalties. It's not like I'm going to get royalties from this company stuff at all.
Exactly.
I did it on a paycheck. It was part of my job. I got paid. Company owns it. All I want is nobody to go, oh, I did that. I didn't.
I've got no problem if other people go, oh, I did that. I'm like, all right, prove it, bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. Well, maybe we should have Rich look at it this time around. I'm like, no. You said you did it. Recreate it.
Mm-hmm. Should be easy. Should be in your notes. Yep, and always it's in the metadata anyway. And none of them know about metadata.
Oh, we are very okay. Our internal stuff, we don't worry about metadata so much. All of our external stuff, we do worry about metadata because if it's a law firm, so we repurpose documents. Mm-hmm. The terms of a contract might be almost exactly the same, but different numbers, different people involved, different companies involved. So we have to take out any of the old client information, when we're putting in the new stuff, just to make sure that if we are representing Brad Pitt as he's being offered, $15 million for this, 5-second commercial spot, and then he has to back out at the last minute and it goes over to Tom Cruise instead, that townspeople aren't going, well, Brad got this much, why am I only getting this much? So we do worry about that externally, but internally we don't care. We actually have a scrubbing software so that anything that gets sent outside the firm, any attachments, get scrubbed automatically.
Well, my company does not seem to understand that metadata exists. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with the I'm only going to work here for 3 to 5 years, and if I don't get promoted or get a raise, I'm going to another company attitude that I get faced with from management. And they don't understand there is a electronic paper trail of every time something was created, by whom, on which computer, when it was modified, when was the last time it was modified. It's all in there, but it doesn't normally show up anywhere that they would see it.
How persnickety your company is with other things dealing with privacy information and stuff like that, I'm really surprised that they do not have more awareness of metadata.
Well, you got to understand, I'm not working with guys of your education and your point of view and your insight into the legal stuff.
Does have to deal with copyrights on colors, though. So, with as persnickety as your industry is with that, I'm really surprised that they don't take a. Because, I mean...
Well, I'm not saying it doesn't occur anywhere in the company, but it doesn't occur anywhere with the people that I have had to deal with in the last 45 years.
Okay.
The people in the lawyers for the company might be well aware of any of this.
I would really hope so.
The IT people probably... Yeah,
I would really hope so.
They better. I mean, that's part of their job. But the people that are actually just doing the paperwork for an office job that doesn't have anything to do with really IT, except, hey, can you come and shake my Etch-a-Sketch over your head so we can reboot this computer? That sort of thing. Or the pointy-haired boss or whatever, the present.
I love Dilbert.
We did actually have somebody get in trouble for posting Dilbert cartoons on the bulletin board in the main office.
One of the cartoons that was hanging above my desk when I was still on help desk was Dogbert answering the phone. Tech support, how can I help you? And the person starts, saying something, and he's like, "Shut up, reboot. Shut up, you're done." And he just hangs up. He's like, "My call times are improving."
Yep. No. I've got to say, I'm very glad that I am a highly moral individual, because there are times when I look at them and I go, you're not thinking of what can happen later. You're thinking of what can you turn to your advantage for another promotion.
You're looking at a 2-month window. We're looking at a 10-year long game.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm looking at this company's been around for 250 years. I'm glad that I was part of the most recent 50. I want it to keep going on because there are people whose lives depend on this company continuing to do well.
I'm just barely older than the firm.
Hmm.
The firm was uh, came into being the year after I was born.
Oh, I ran into a mention of my company in a Dashiell Hammett detective story.
Cool.
Some guy died owning shares in half a dozen different companies, and mine was one of them. Yes, it's been around for 250 years, or more than 250 years. Um, and it was well known enough in the 20s and 30s that Dashiell Hammett used it as an example of a successful company it was nice to own stock in. Hey,
I
can't.
love it when I see little snippets like that where I'm like, my firm was mentioned. You know,
Yeah,
um,
I got a nice little giggle out of that. I go, oh wow, yeah, well, made the windows and the mirrors for Palace of Versailles. Yeah, they did. Um,
the our local ABC affiliate out of Chicago, the legal analyst that they have on very often is one of the large, powerful partners at our firm. So every once in a while, I'll look up, I'll see him on TV. I'll be like, "Oh, hey, it's him. I know him. I talked to him over coffee this morning." Well, he had
mhm.
coffee, I had tea, but um,
Oh, okay. It's been 2 hours. Uh, we have successfully done the two-man band here. Um, and thank you, Rich. It's been a fascinating conversation, as any conversation with you turns out to be.
we always have some fun ones.
And now, if Chris had been here, we'd have been talking about music all night. That's
Or
what Chris and
movies,
I do.
or
Yeah, well,
computers.
that's what Chris and I do when it's me and him. It's music, you know. That's the thing that we share, and that's that's wonderful. I love it. I always enjoy having something that I can have a long-term conversation with somebody about. I mean, just keep on going, and we can digress and have parenthetical digressions, and then come back to the main subject and go, well, that was an interesting parenthetical digression to the digression to the digression, but these things they happen. And I'm sorry. Last time I ran off to the down the hall, you had to have the window open yourself. But uh, it's one of those things where later on you will feel more comfortable and just sit there and monologue because you're comfortable in yourself and you know that, as Freddie Mercury stated so eloquently, nothing really matters. It's all entertainment, is what it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to tell the bedtime story, and I am going to sit here for just about another beer and watch a couple of videos. And tomorrow night, the next issue of Aphelion will go live. I'm almost finished with everything. I've got a couple more stories that have to be HTML coded, and I've got my editorial to write. But everything else is done. So, ta-da! The final issue for 2022 comes out tomorrow. The next time you will get a new issue of Aphelion after tomorrow will be February of 2023. And Aphelion will be 26 years old. What a long, strange trip it's been. Good night, everybody. Good night, Rich.
Yeah.
And let me. Oh, I ain't even clicked it up yet. Well, let's tell the bedtime story.